Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Got a surprise guest for you guys today. Someone that has been a listener of the show that I actually met up with in a whatnot room, and we've hit it off. And I think he's just got such a great hobby story to tell. So I wanted to bring him on. He is Corey Donahue. Corey, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm great, Ken. I'm very appreciative of you having me on. Excited to talk with you.
Yeah, yeah. So you have the sign behind you. If you're not watching on YouTube, collect for good, and this is kind of your project, your what you do in the hobby, your lane in the hobby. But before we get to that, give me a little background of your where you've been in the hobby and you who you are.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been collecting like most of us since I was a kid. And basketball and baseball were my sports growing up. And then, of course, fell in love with college football as I got into college. And so I've always been around the hobby, always been around sports. Professionally, I've been an entrepreneur and a real estate guy on the investment side. So I've had a bunch of positions with large investment firms backed by Wall Street. Um, and kind of, during COVID, I think we all got a good little reset of what's important in life. And so Collect for Good really kind of came out of the thought processes around, um, what matters in life, right? I'd been fortunate to have some financial success. I was traveling a whole lot away from my family, and my kids were getting older, and decided to completely get off the road, kind of walk away from that life and start over again, and just kind of resetting priorities. And so I feel like everything we're doing now, we're trying to, of course, need to continue to support our family, but really the focus is how do we do better for the community around us in everything that we do. And Collect for Good is our hobby version of that.
Hmm. So it's interesting, and this is probably one of the first things I said to you was, here we are in a hobby, and there are collectors in the hobby, but anywhere you go in the hobby right now, whether you're at shows, you're online, you're in, any rooms and whatnot or whatever, I just feel it's all about the dollar. Right. Everything in the hobby is about, it's very cutthroat. I mean, it's a great space to be in, but as long as, you're, I, I I don't know, I want to say playing the game, right? As long as you're purchasing and selling and doing what you're supposed to be doing, it works out for everybody because even if, you know, people they're they're going to sell you a card, there's some profit involved in that. So when I meet a guy like you that says, "Yeah, I'm doing this, but I'm taking this profit to give back. Like I'm not taking this to put it in my pocket. I'm taking this to give back to my community." And that's where I said right away, this is somebody I should bring on because it's the other side of the hobby, right? It's not that cutthroat. It's like how much can I make on this card? What's my percentage? Is it 85? Is it 90? Is it 62? Whatever. Completely other side of that. And I mean, first of all, I want to thank you for being that other side of the hobby. And I end everyone saying, take care of yourselves and everyone
Mhm.
around you. It's something
Yeah.
that I do in my community. I do in my life, what I do in my life, and it's nice to meet somebody else of the same mindset.
Yeah. Really appreciate that, Ken. Yeah. And that's, um, Collect for Good birthed out of that mindset. And then, my son, who's in his early 20s, um, was kind of looking for what he was going to do for a career path. He had, he's done school, he's worked for one of our other companies for a long time, and, started getting interested in the hobby. And I said, well, my side of that, I'm happy to get involved with you. Tyler is his name. He's on all of our whatnot streams. And, um, but, I want to make sure that we are doing better in the world for any business that we're going to get involved in. And so, he does do that for a living. He's in the hobby for a living now, primarily, whatnot and similar shows, eBay, etc. But Um, on my side of it goes back to our charity partner. And so we're really focused on how do we give back to our community,
Mhm.
even as much as, when we're doing breaks and things like that. Like we'll take and we'll make team bags. And like tonight, as an example, we'll be in our city downtown at the first Friday event, and we'll be handing out team bags for any kid that comes by and wants to be in the hobby. We have tens of thousands of all of these base cards that are left over from breaks, etc. And so we'll not only do we try to give money to people that are in need and get people off the street, but try to give to the community too. And hand out cards for anybody who's excited to be in the hobby and thinks that's important.
Do you find on your end, which giving back, do you find that people are try to give you more things? Like, hey, I like what you're doing here. I've got a whole box of I just want to, support what you're doing.
So, I haven't put it out there really that much, other than on our whatnot streams. We just started our social media channels this year at the national. We haven't been out. We're going to work towards that, but I really didn't want it to be about that. I didn't want it to be about, okay, these guys are just looking for a handout for another charity. I wanted it to be about, we can generate revenue, generate profit, and then use that profit for good,
Mhm.
more than I wanted it to be about, hey, give me, give me, give me. I didn't want to be another person who, there's streamers out there on YouTube and on TikTok, etc., that will just give money away, but they're doing it for clicks, right? So they can grow their following or get more money or whatever. And that I didn't want this to be about that. I just wanted it to be us honestly just doing good. So we do of course, we tell our friends that come on our stream what we're doing, and we're working on more ways to be more transparent about that, and partnering with Travis and doing some videos and some things like that. So we'll be growing that in our channels and socials as well. But to answer your question, we haven't had anybody do that. We've had some people say, "Hey, you want to consign some stuff for us?" Or I think people generally will buy from us over just a general streamer if we have something that they like, just because they like the idea. But all of this comes out of, as an entrepreneur, I feel like we can create this um, business benefit that benefits nonprofits in a circular fashion, where if you're doing the right thing as a business owner, and then you do tell people, hey, we're giving 10% off the top, or we're giving, X dollars, no matter what the business is, to
Mhm.
support this charity locally. And then that charity can say, hey, these businesses are supporting us, so you
Yep.
should support them. I think it becomes a very a marketing circle that benefits everybody, as long as it's done from the right place and the right heart, right? And
Yep.
and you do
And,
everything with excellence, and so
yeah,
that's really where
and
Collective
nobody's
comes from.
taking advantage of it, right? I mean
Correct.
that's the most important part, and I think that's really kind of what happens in a lot of these situations. At some point, they kind of go off the rails, right? And I think it's hard to know. I think in today's day and age, it's hard to know. Like, am I really giving to somebody good, good and things like that? And my wife says to me all the time when something happens, well, I'd like to make a donation, and she comes to me, well, do you think this is legit? I mean,
Hmm.
and it's a terrible thing to say, but you have to, all of a sudden you want to do something good, and then you have to sift through so many things to hope that your money's going or your donation is going to the right place. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah, and I think that's why we're trying to work on ways to be more transparent about our stuff. But that's definitely been a challenge, even when for us as we want to give. And the reason that we give to Worth and Purpose is because we're directly involved with them. So we see where the dollars are going. And Travis, who runs and operates that nonprofit, um, he's the real deal. I mean, he lives in a trailer, right? Like he's a YouTube superstar, and a social media superstar. 10 million followers. He's had viral videos go. He's over 1 billion views on his videos, and I I spend time with him personally all the time, and he's giving it all away,
mm,
and he's living on $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
mm,
And those are the kind of people that I'm happy to support in any way that I can, and want to and kind of look to them as an example of how I should be.
yeah. Yeah, you want to briefly just explain what the Worth and Purpose and Travis is, what this is?
Sure. Yeah, it's at Travis Doodles on socials. That's the easiest way to find it. Or you can go to Worth and Purpose, all spelled out.org. And what Travis does is he develops relationships with people that are on the street, and then figures out the ones that have true challenges that are not, um, I think a lot of times we have aversion to people who are living on the street because we just assume that they're, have problems. They're addicted to something. They're a criminal or whatever. Um, so he kind of develops relationships with these folks and finds the ones that are just really, they've got one of the guys you could find on his videos. He broke his back, so he couldn't work, and he's in construction. Right. Well, what's he going to do? Didn't have family to support him. He was all he had. And so now that guy has a house. He has a roof over his head permanently. And so that's really what we try to do is find the people that, there's a lot of people on the street that choose to be there.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people that don't choose to be there. So we're looking for the ones that don't choose to be there. And a lot of those folks just don't know um, what services are available. So part of what Travis does is he guides them through how to have how to work with the other nonprofits in the area to do some things. And then at the end of the day, the ones that have the deepest relationships, we're putting a roof over their head, get them off the street permanently, helping them either find a job or whatever, just to get their life back in order.
Yeah. Sounds like an excellent organization.
Yeah.
Appreciate your dedication to that as well.
Yeah. It's
So
pretty
so
good.
if I came to your house and I said, "Show me your collection," what am I looking at? Who are the players I see?
Man, you're going to see a lot of WNBA and women's college basketball. I think that's how we connected so well. Beside the heart behind it, we that's definitely why I've been listening for so long. Is
Yeah.
getting my outside of my own head information in the hobby on the W and on women's basketball. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of that, a lot of Juju, a lot of Caitlin,
Mm.
and then Alicia Gray is one of my favorites. And yeah, so a lot of that, a little bit of WN, a little bit of NBA, a little bit of NFL.
Yeah.
We definitely do quite a bit of that business wise, but my personal collection's all based around women's basketball right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
almost. Yeah, and then old school stuff that I grew up in Baltimore, so Orioles fan, Cal Ripken. Got a bunch of old Cal Ripken, Eddie Murray. The old Oriole baseball players. I grew up around those guys, and um, but that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Back when they were the Colts, right? It was the Baltimore Colts.
Well, that was the Ravens. So yeah, they used to be the Colts. That was actually before my time. I think
Yeah.
they got out like when I was super young, and the Ravens came to Baltimore when I was a senior in high school. So I've been to two Ravens Super Bowls. I'm very fortunate to go
Oh,
to
wow.
both of the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm not a huge Ravens fan. I'm kind of like that with all sports except for Georgia football, which I'm a fanatic about. I'm a player guy. I like stories. I think one of the reasons I was so attracted to Worth and Purpose is I like people stories. So I like the people that feel are good people that are doing different things that have good hearts. And so I follow players for different reasons, but I'm not a big I don't have a team that I'm diehard about except for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Hmm. And as far as collecting the WNBA stuff and some college stuff, um, something that is more recent since like COVID 2021, 22, something like that, like jumping back in that type of thing. Anything before that, were you back on Taurasi and Bird and things like that back in the earlier WNBA or?
Unfortunately, I was not. I mean, it was definitely COVID that afforded me the time. I mean, I've been working on Wall Street and private equity for a bunch of kind of Wall Street firms prior to COVID. So time was not something that was my friend at that point for anything other than work and family.
Yeah.
So and family, unfortunately, was secondary. Work was pretty consuming at that point. So no, to answer your question, it's really been supercharged since COVID
Yeah.
for us as well.
Yeah. So you had a big hit yourself on a break you got into. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I did, and so that card is so I was in K Red, who's a breaker on Whatnot, and a good friend and a big W guy. Um, I bought into one of his breaks for a $70 spot. It was a team break, and I didn't even know what team I had. We had just finished a stream. Um, Tyler was still in the studio. I had left and gone home, and he called me and he said, "Hey, Dad, did you see what you just hit?" And I had no idea. Like, what do you mean? I didn't remember buying the spot. I was just supporting a friend. And apparently I got the fever. It was a random team break. And so the way he runs his breaks is he sells out all the spots and then he randomly gives everybody a spot. So all the spots are the same price, fixed price. And so I got the fever, and it turned out that it was a Donruss break, and I hit a Caitlin Clark to 5 auto out of the Donruss break. So it was a pretty fun one. It's probably the biggest one. It's got to be the biggest one I've ever hit in a break.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Yeah, and that's going to go right to charity. So we're going to sell that card this weekend, and Worth and Purpose is going to get a nice healthy check from that one.
Nice, nice. Always giving back.
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny. Most people in this hobby are thinking the opposite direction, right? It's where 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 can I succeed, but for myself, and in your case, it's where can I succeed for somebody else. Um, I know you get out, you travel around to shows. Some of your favorite shows, or the ones you like to get to.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the national this year was an absolute blast. I thought it was well done.
How
So we
long do
did the
you spend?
national.
How long do you spend out there when you go?
We go for the whole time. So, and I think this year we're planning a group of us from the hobby are going to try to do some extracurricular stuff. So we'll probably go on Tuesday, come back on Sunday, maybe
Mhm.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
So the national's a blast. I was able to get to the Nashville show a few weeks ago. Beautiful show, big show. Attendance was interesting. It was definitely down from last time I went.
Mhm.
Um, this year. But yeah, I went to the Dallas Card Show. I went to the Dallas Card Show in Chicago. So yeah, unfortunately, here in Florida where I live, there's not a lot of big shows. Maybe one or two a year.
Mhm.
So traveling has definitely been the way for us to get to some new shows and some new inventory. So really great show in Chicago that Dallas Card Show put on. Happened to find one dealer who had it. You and I would have both like I went crazy on his at his booth. You would have as well. Just had a lot of women's basketball stuff. So I came home. I had to buy another suitcase from that business trip, and bring all the cards home that I bought from that one dealer.
It's
So
funny. It's funny whenever I travel to a show. Like, I've done Culture Collision. We're set up at Culture Collision, and even the National a few years ago, I set up at the National. You get that one suitcase, that one carry on, right? That it's got
yep.
so many cards in there, and then as I'm getting on, I'm thinking to myself, "Am I going to be able to get this up over my head into the
Hmm.
overhead bin
Yeah,
because it's so heavy, right? Because
yeah.
you can't check that stuff. I mean, it
No.
would cost you a fortune to check that stuff.
Well, I want to check it, right? I had them this year going out to the national. We took a lot of cards, a lot of football, like you talked about football. That's the time to exit the football market, and so we took a full Zion suitcase full of graded football stuff with us, and they tried to get me to check the bag as I was getting on the plane, and I said, absolutely not checking that. Sorry, there's valuables in here. It's not going underneath the plane, and they did thankfully let me take it on. So.
I don't know if you heard my story. I forget where I was even going. Maybe it was to was it to the National? I don't know where they same thing. They said, and the guy wouldn't even hear it. He wouldn't even talk to me. And I was the last. There was a person in front of me was going with a carry on, and then I was the first. Where they set you up.
Right.
Section 2, 3, 4. So I was 4. So 3 had just finished, and the guy said, "No, no more. You've got to." And I said, "Well, maybe there's room for one more." And he said, "No, there's not." And he put the thing on my bag, right? And
Oh,
as I'm going down the ramp, I'm looking around, and I'm like, I can't hand this bag off. It's just too valuable. So
right.
I pulled the thing he stuck
Just
on off, and
took
I
it.
put it in my pocket, and I just walked on like nobody, like
Yeah,
nobody said anything.
yeah. And there was space,
I'm the
I'm
last
sure,
guy. I'm the last guy.
right?
Everybody
Yeah,
behind me had to.
that's right. That's right.
But it's
Good.
that panic feeling, right?
Totally.
It's
Yeah,
that, oh, you know what? I was going to the West Coast card show. That's where I was
yeah,
going. And it's
yeah.
that panic feeling like I don't I can't be with I can't let this go. Like
No,
just
absolutely not.
just
Yeah, so
do
that
it. Yeah.
pay up for a better seat, so you're not in that spot anymore. Learn that lesson. Add to the travel budget, right?
Yeah, so coming home, I did that. Coming
Yeah,
home, I upgraded to first class. I'm like, I'm getting on with this box, regardless of what happens. But yeah, I
yeah,
guess there's a tip and a trick, to
yeah.
to get on there. Yeah, and it must be tough too, like for you flying, and especially what your whatnot shows and things like that. Like you're trying to buy as much as you can, and I'm
100%.
sure that's got to be in your mind. Like, how am I getting all this stuff home? Yeah,
Yeah, I end up normally what I do is I'll check a large bag and I'll put everything that I need to, anything I can, like, because I got to bring supplies too a lot of times, right? So, yeah, I'll bring the Zion case as my check in, and or my carry on, and then I'll use my backpack, my Zion backpack, and then yeah, they're just loaded every time I come back from anywhere. And if I actually did have to check some on the way back from the national, I just packed them. I packed the $3 to $5 cards
yeah.
for a whatnot show in my suitcase. They got checked, but all the slabs they stayed right next to me for sure.
Yeah. How often do you do the whatnot shows? And is it always selling the singles? Are you doing so I we literally just met, right?
Yep.
10 days ago or so, and we've chatted since, but and I've been in a few of your breaks. I think the first one you were actually opening up the Don Russ WNBA hobby, and then since then it's been the singles. So like for your whatnot stream, are you mostly singles and then some wax? Are you what's your percentage each way?
Yeah, so we do Thursday and Sunday is WNBA or women's college singles every week. We do buy collections of other sports, so from time to time, like we have an NBA show coming up on Saturday, so we'll run single shows, and then I would say the other part of the time, I wouldn't say it's 50-50. I'd say it's 70-30. We do WNBA breaks. And as you know, it's been challenging to get product because we don't want to have to charge our customers some egregious price because prices went up on boxes. So we've kind of, when Prism was out and we could get it, we would do some. And then as those prices went up, we had to back off on breaks. So we've kind of had a love-hate relationship on the breaks because, we can't give any money to charity if we lose money. Right. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
and people can only afford what they can afford. So yeah, to answer your question, it's probably 70-30. And, the Donruss stuff's been really great. It's been fun to break. We don't have any breaks scheduled right now. We might do another couple cases of Donruss just because it's been fun. But I was just kind of waiting to see how the pricing was going to settle out and where people were going to be with it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I know too, sometimes people get discouraged, on the breaks.
Hmm.
If you go in, you're buying into breaks. If you don't get anything, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
what a waste of money. But if you're
Yeah.
going in on singles, at least you know what you're buying and what you're getting. I know
Yeah.
the first one, and there was the Saturday night I jumped in on yours, and you were doing the women's college, and I felt bad. I felt like I was stealing from you. I'm like, oh, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It just depends on who's around. And, the great part, the WNBA community is amazing, especially in the hobby. Some of the greatest people that I've ever met that just kind, and they're collectors and they're passionate about it, but they're also typically good-hearted people. And, so we'll, it's such a tight community. You have to be careful what other streamers are running because it's there's not a lot of folks on buying W, especially since Caitlin's market has fallen off, and of course now it's the end of the season. But really, once Caitlin got hurt and you didn't have every repacker in the world trying to buy Caitlin cards, um, the everything kind of slowed down in that market, and so the number of streamers went up because of uh, the market growth for the W, and the number of buyers seem to stagnate or go down. And so, to answer your question, we try to avoid competing with our friends as much as we can,
Yeah,
so that the people that are in the room are having the most opportunity to see. Because we do pride ourselves on finding the stuff that you don't just see every day.
yeah,
And so, it's been interesting to do. But yes, you did get some home runs on our stream, and that happens. Being
yeah,
a streamer, it sometimes you're selling a card at 25%, sometimes you're selling 125%. It
yeah,
just got to hope it all balances itself out.
yeah. And you know what I've noticed too, and I'm new to this whatnot thing.
Yep.
And I started with the select WNBA last year,
Hmm.
right? And I quickly figured out over that time that it's nice when the product releases and every single room is breaking it, right? And
Mm.
it's people are spending, just a fortune on spots. But 10 days later, a week later, all of a sudden when the dust settles, right, you're back to the people who really enjoy doing it, and
Mhm.
they're off onto something else, whatever
Yep.
the new stuff is. And then all of a sudden you can get in a room with people who are happy to be there, and maybe not. And I guess for me on my end, because I'm just a buyer, not so many people in that room that it's costing a fortune just to try to get a spot in there, that
Right.
it becomes more affordable and more reasonable. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And that, as a buyer, you're looking for that, right? And that makes sense. And obviously, we love to have as many people in the room as we can as a seller, right?
yeah.
Same as if you're at a show, you want a packed show, you don't want to trickle, but oftentimes
You
it
want to
doesn't
you want a
matter,
packed
right?
show with 10 tables.
Correct. Correct. But, again, I would rather sell stuff at an average, like at a decent price. Like it doesn't have to be a home run price, to someone who's going to enjoy it, where they're going
Yeah,
to put it on their wall or they're going to collect. I'd much rather do that than have the kind of craze we had when everybody wanted to buy Caitlin Clark's for $100 for a base rookie, right?
yeah,
And it's just not as fun when it's all about money, like we started talking about.
yeah,
Um, I'm just such a people person. When the people are involved and we can do something that's fun and people enjoy it and it's still profitable,
yeah.
um, that makes the world go round. Keeps everybody going.
Well, that's your community, right? I
Yep.
mean, you've built that community. When I go into, something when it's on release night and I'm just looking at 15 rooms that are all breaking the same thing, and I'm just trying to look for the least amount of people in the room because I think that's going to benefit me. I'm not part of their community.
Right.
I'm a drive by, right?
Yep.
Nobody knows who I am and stuff like that. But then I jump into a break one night and I run into you and you're like, "Hey, it's Big Ken," and all of a sudden
Yep.
immediately you feel. And then I knew like 6 or 7 other people in that room that night,
Yep.
so now I feel like I'm more part of a community at that point
Good.
than just another guy buying a spot.
Yeah, yeah, and look, I mean, this, like I said, this community is fun and it's great people, and that's why I try to call you out every time I see you pop in, because I want people listening to what your content you're putting out, because you're a great guy and you're being honest in the hobby, and you're telling people what's really going on, and it's enjoyable to listen to, and these are the kind of things we need in the hobby, right? It
Yeah,
can't only be about how much how do I maximize profits? It's got to be about community and being transparent. That's why I love when you talk about what it's like being a dealer, because most people don't understand what that looks like. And when you're doing it honestly and transparently, um, that's what it's about. I mean, the profits are not a problem. Profits have to be there to make the world go round, and we can't fault anybody for making a profit, and we can't feel guilty for making a profit. We're in this, we have to make a profit, but because otherwise you can't do it, right? But we can do that in a way that is enjoyable for everyone, and everyone can win, and it doesn't have to be cutthroat.
yeah,
So
yeah. And again, the community.
correct.
It builds a positive, community in the hobby. And
Yep.
that's really, that isn't that what we want everywhere we go, right? I mean,
100%. That's how
that's
we're designed as humans, right? To be
yeah,
in community.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not even the hobby, anywhere in life, right?
Yep.
If we feel like we're a part of it,
Hmm.
and everybody feels the same and has the same goal, right? I
Yep.
mean, it makes it so much nicer,
Yeah.
so much nicer. And sometimes like, and I'm going to be honest, like I go through stuff with people in the hobby, and my wife will say to me, "God, that's like high school girl stuff," and I'm like, "I
Yep.
know, like I can't get away from it sometimes,
Yeah.
but and then other times you're like, oh," and she's like, "Oh my God, really? They're doing this or that," or might tell your story or other people who are doing super positive things. So it's all, all over, right? But I
Yeah.
think we when we can connect and become part of a community, I mean, it's second to none. I think
Yeah.
that's what really keeps people coming back and doing and want to give back,
Yeah.
right? You all of a sudden you meet people, and if you rub off on other people would want to do the same thing. Like, wow,
Yeah.
like he makes it work, and look how good he feels about doing that. Maybe I should try doing that type of thing.
Yeah, and look, it's fun to do stuff for people, right? It's
Yeah.
fun when you have someone come up and say, they're well, I'll tell you a story from when I was at the National. So the National, they have a women's trade night now, which is phenomenal.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting at a table with some other podcasters that do WNBA streams, and um, Women on Tops is sitting there with us, and we're having fun. And she's a hoot. We're cutting up and have do those things, and I was sharing how I love Sabrina, and she goes, "Oh yeah," and she just pulls out a graded Sabrina rookie, numbered graded Sabrina rookie, and says, "Here, have this. This is for me." I just met her, but that's the kind of stuff in the hobby that when you have a great community, you know, who cares about a few bucks, right?
Yep.
You're there to have fun and enjoy each other, and of course, you have to do it as a business, but it affords the opportunity then to really do something for somebody that makes them feel good and makes them feel special. And in this hobby, we have the opportunity to do good for kids and to show up for kids.
Hmm.
One of the things we do outside of the hobby is support a foundation that is helping kids aging out of foster care. Well, those kids don't really have parents, right? They have well-meaning foster parents, but they don't have what most of us have in birth parents that are in our lives. And the hobby can help kids like that, right? When these kids are 8, 10 years old, they look up to sports figures. And if we can take and it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It can be base cards. But if I walk up to a kid that's struggling and I'm like, hey, we're here in Tampa area. So Baker Mayfield's like, everywhere. Hey, here's a Baker Mayfield card, and they'll just smile and run off and love it, right? Those are just ways we can easily love people that don't cost a lot.
Yep.
And I think that's important to do as a hobby. We need to do that more.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Just keep giving back. Right.
Yep.
Just try to do our thing.
Agreed.
As far as the whatnot stuff, how long have you been doing that? And honestly, is it tiring? Like when I'm on the other end and you're just constantly talking. I'm like, I taught, right? And
Yeah.
people used to say to me, I don't know how you could talk all day, even with the podcast. I sit here for 30 minutes and I only talk to a screen sometimes, most of
Yeah.
the time. And people say, I don't know how you talk that much, but I'm on the other side and I'm thinking to myself, in every sale, thank you, appreciate it. Like you appreciate everybody. I think to myself, man, after that hour, I mean, you must be drained.
Yeah. It's so we started the story with that is we started back in March, looking for in February, we're looking for kind of how do we do this besides just going to local card shows? How do we do this in a way that creates more community? And so my son started doing football breaks on Whatnot, and it was the big NFL quarterback year last year, right? And so those went well in March, and I had some other collectibles that we were going to use to seed what we're doing with Collect for Good. So we sold all those on Whatnot, and all of a sudden we turn around, we've got a following, and so. March Madness came and we just went all in on the women's basketball side. And so it's really been since March. We've done, I look back last week, I couldn't believe how much business we've done with only a couple day a week show. It's been pretty mind blowing, honestly. To answer your question about being tired, I'm an extrovert, right? So when people are talking to me and we're having fun and we can interact and there's community, it's not tiring.
Yeah.
But when everybody's just sitting there waiting for the next card and bidding on the next card, yeah, it'll wear you out. And so I kind of cap myself right around 100, right? Like that seems to be 100 auctions a show, seems to be kind of where the room starts to die off a little bit. People get bored, people lose their attention span. So yeah, we figured that beginning of the stream is where you run the best stuff because it's when everybody's got the most energy, especially the streamer, me. And then as things tail off, you'll see in our shows, like we'll start to run some of the smaller stuff, kind of card number 50 on.
Yeah.
Because other people, the people that are in the room tend to get fatigued and bounce to the next guy or the next person and want to hear different stories. And so we're going to work on ways to change that. Right. I think we could do some, podcast like, conversations while we're streaming and have some more entertaining things we could do. And so we're working on that. We got some equipment this week that we're going to start trying to play around with that. and see. So maybe we'll have you on, Ken, next
Yeah,
time on the show, and
absolutely.
we'll
Yeah,
stream together and have some fun talking about cards we're putting up and what we think the market's going to be and all those things. I think that would be better for engagement, better for community development, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
we'll do some of that kind of stuff coming up, hopefully.
yeah, yeah. And I bet you people would like that, right?
Yeah,
It gives you, because I know when I sit on my end, I got it going, and I'm doing like something else as I have
yeah.
two computers. I'm looking this way, I'm looking that way. And even last night when I was on, they were like, nobody wanted that Anissa Moro. And I was like, oh, this
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, he's gonna run it again. I know he's gonna run it again. But something like that, right? Or
Yep,
something sells and you're like, oh, I
totally.
missed it. Like, and I've been in whatnot rooms too, where and you see it always happen. Like people are bidding up, bidding up, bidding up, and then all of a sudden everybody just like gets distracted at the same
Yeah,
time, right? And all of a sudden something goes for like
yeah.
$10 or $5, and
Oh
if it's
yeah,
you, you're like, yeah, that was the best take ever. But
totally. Well, so here, a funny story. So we were working on putting together repack breaks just for W and for women's basketball. And which, when you have a super small market like that, it's hard. It's niche still, right?
yeah,
And so, but we did it, and we were losing money kind of as we were doing it. But our first stream, we decided we're going to go all in. We're going to give away a bunch of slabs. We're just going to have a big party, see how many people we can get in the room, have fun with it. If we take a big loss, we take a loss. It's just part of building, what we're doing. So the first stream, we loaded those repacks. I mean, we're talking page autos to 50, things like that, graded page autos, stuff like that. So we had a Caitlin Clark logo, graded logo prism card, and I kind of had an idea based on what had already been hit, what was coming up. And just like what you just described, it was like everybody's bidding, 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 bidding. And then the next auction came up and nobody bid. And it was $2. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. These are like $100, $75 to $100 spots. I'm like, dude, what happened? All right, boom. And of course, it hits the fever. Right. And so and the best part of it is it was a younger girl who was newish to being on our streams. And she really, probably couldn't afford to be spending a whole bunch of money, but, huge
yeah,
fan.
yeah,
And I was like, I knew it was like a 1/3 shot that the fever card was going to be that Caitlin logo. And of course that's what it was. So for $2, she got that Caitlin logo card. And I was just happy for her.
yeah,
We knew going in, we were probably going to take a loss on the stream. And
yeah, yeah,
it was pretty cool. But yeah, that happens all the time. I mean, I
yeah,
can't tell you how many times I'm like, how did that card sell for $2? And then a rookie of somebody will sell for $2, and then Dewana Bonner to 99 sells for 12. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
next card, like you said, people just fall asleep because we all have ADD, right?
yeah,
We're all on our phones all the time. We all have ADD.
yeah,
So,
yeah. We all got
uh,
distracted at the same time.
yeah,
You
yeah,
see it happen all the time, and either that or you're expecting somebody to bid. I've done this before. I'm like sitting there and it'd be at like $7 and the rest of them are going, and you're expecting somebody. I'm like, well, I'll take it for 7. I'll take it for 10. I'll
yeah,
take it for 12. I'll take
yeah,
it for 50. And next thing you know, I'm like, well, I guess I'm taking it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It happens
I didn't want to bid on
to
it, but
all
now
of
I
us,
own it.
right? Yeah, it happens to all of us. And the biggest thing you can do there is learn how to hit that. I'm sure you do, but set that max
Max bid.
bid
Yeah.
so that you don't swipe and then somebody jumped it on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Seen
Yeah.
that happen a lot. Yep.
Yeah. 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 I started using that too, like and that helps me too, just to say, especially when I'm distracted doing something else. For each
Mhm.
one, if I say, look, I'll spend $30 on whatever it is, a spot or whatever, just keep every time it comes up, just do the max
Yep.
bid and then just continue on doing what I'm doing. And then if I get it, usually I'll hear my name, I'll hear sports card lessons or something pop up. So I'll
And you
jump
see what
over
you
it.
got.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been bidding on something and like laying in bed and I fall asleep. And then all of a sudden these random cards show up, a week later. And you're like, I don't remember buying that, but it was good. I bid on it, especially in a break spot, right? Where
Mm.
you're like, I think I had Asia Wilson a couple weeks ago and I fell asleep long before the break ever started. And this week I got stack of Asia Wilson cards in. I had no idea what they were from or how they got there. So it happens.
Uh, yeah.
But
And you
whatnot's
you
fun.
jump on there and you just re put those in your breaks. I mean these
Yeah, we'll
cards.
put them in our singles. I mean, I buy. It's tough to get inventory, as you know, right? It's such a
Yeah.
niche market. So,
Yeah.
sourcing inventory um, offline is hard,
Mm,
especially in Florida. There's just not a lot of women's basketball
mm.
dealers at all. I mean, there's not
Well,
anybody that I
well,
know
well,
of.
that's the problem, and nobody puts the stuff out. I
Right.
mean, I've learned when I go to shows is if I see any college card, any like a Cooper flag or any college card there, I'll say, hey, or if they have a lot of basketball, do you have any college basketball? Do you have any?
Yep.
In this last show I was at the Shriners, I mean, people are like, oh, hold on, they disappear under their table and they're coming
Yep.
back up, handing me a box because nobody really wants to put it out, or they'll
Same
be
thing.
like, oh my god, I've got boxes of that stuff at home. Nobody wants that. I'm like,
Yep.
here's my number,
Yep.
and
100%. Do the
reach out
exact
to
same
me.
thing.
Yeah.
I think I've pretty much bought half of the WNBA cards that exist in Florida and dispersed them across the country because, I do the same thing every table, hey, any women's college basketball, any women's basketball at all, any WNBA,
Yeah.
same deal. Then they'll go, oh, I think I have some back here, and they'll
Yeah.
pull it out. Unless
Yeah.
it's a big Caitlin or
Mm,
Paige, they really don't hit the tables much.
yeah.
So we have a hard time sourcing, and that's again why I travel to shows a lot. But we source on Whatnot all the time, and I found that breaks, especially when you can kind of guess what you're going to get, right? If it's at the end of a break and you know your odds, or you're doing a pick your team, pick your player kind of break, that's where we get a lot of product for sure. And of course, we rip a lot. We buy cases and things like that. But
Yeah.
we generally, everything that we get will, if it's not a PC card, it's going back on the stream within a week or two.
Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed too, if you go to these shows and you have that one or two dealers who really know what they have, I mean, the price is so like
Hmm.
it does not make it worth your while to buy into some of
Yep.
that stuff too. Yeah. You're like,
Yep.
damn. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, you have those some certain dealers who just price everything at, $5, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's really a $2 card. Like I'm happy to buy 100 of them, but you're going to have to get me down to a
Yeah.
dollar, dollar
Yeah.
50, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't, they're still got Cam Brink base rookies for $14 and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Too much.
They have
Yeah.
them. Yep.
But that's
So
why I keep ripping these Bowman U boxes. I was telling you,
yeah.
we ripped 2 more this morning as I just keep filling up the women's side of it, even the men too. Like
Yep.
the men in there, believe it or not, we're sitting here talking about the women, and that's our lane, right? And
Yep.
that's what I have the most fun doing. But the men probably are worth more money in there, but
Yep.
for a shorter amount of time,
Yeah.
right? Because the NBA, though, the value is in the college cards until that professional card comes, until their pro uniform card comes out, and then
Absolutely.
the market drops. Where it's just different with the collectors of women's college basketball and the WNBA. I mean, obviously, like we saw, like the Paige Becker's cards come out, we watched the Caitlin Clark cards come out, but people were still buying the college stuff, and it was still really
Mhm.
holding their value.
Yeah.
So on the women's side, and this past year, that Bowman U, there was so many women first Bowman in
Hmm.
there, right? I mean, it was
Hmm.
like last year's quarterback class in the NFL. There was so many
Yep.
first Bowmans in there. So it was such a good class to really continue for me, really just
Yeah.
keep buying on.
Yep.
And for the men, right? You're just pulling out, and it's a 1 year thing. Last year it was Cooper Flag, right?
Mhm.
And it's just a 1 year thing. It's whoever's going to be all the rage this year is got to pump all those cards into the market because you can't hold on to them past when they hit the draft.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting with the switch from Panini to Topps because in baseball, first Bowmans maintain their value the whole way through, right? And the first Bowman, even versus a rookie shield, um, they hold their value very well. And so it'd be interesting to see if we get a transition the same way with football and basketball. Um, it won't obviously affect the women's college quite as directly, right? Because Panini, I guess Panini is maintaining the license, right, for W. So, but on the the tide rises, all the boats float. Maybe Bowman U now, over the next 5 years, will start to maintain its value a little bit more. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, it was like the first one of a card came out, that was the one you wanted, right?
Yep.
Hopefully it was a rookie, but it could have been,
Yeah, but
Derek
there were
Jeter.
no college cards back then,
Correct.
right? It was
Right.
all just professional cards.
Well,
Yeah.
but for baseball, it would have been a minor league card, right? Or something like that, where it was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's the first one. Well, now it doesn't seem to have the same thing, right? It's that
Mm.
rookie shield, or maybe first Bowman gets more traction as Topps takes more of the licensing on the major sports. It'll be interesting to watch. Hopefully, for our sake, being college fans, that does translate.
That it
We get some
holds
more
its
value,
value. Yeah.
right?
So let me ask you a question then, because we've talked about this a number of times with different people, even Chris from Card Ladder. We've asked this question. So the Juju Watkins, right?
Mhm.
Her first Bowman, right? She's in a white penny, right?
Terrible,
There's
terrible,
nothing on that. And now the USC stuff has just came out this year, which was 3 years later.
right?
So do the white penny first Bowman, do they hold their value higher than the USC card, or what's your thought on that?
My thought is I don't think so. I think like it's if you look at what happens licensed versus unlicensed, it's the same thing, right? It's almost like the USC is the licensed version, right? So when you look at that in any other sport, Topps unlicensed stuff doesn't sell the same as Panini licensed stuff, right?
Yeah, but there's
So
no first Bowman on that card.
you're right. You're right. And I hope, I mean, I don't know if I have as many Jujus as you do, but I've got a number of first
Yeah.
Bowman. I've got a couple of in-person graded autographs of Juju in that first Bowman penny.
Hmm.
Um, but I just think that is an ugly card, unfortunately.
It is an
But
ugly card, but you know what? There wasn't that many of them either,
right.
right? I mean, it
Yeah.
was hard.
Super hard to get.
If you go
Super
back
hard
and
to
you
get.
open any of those boxes, you're lucky if you get one women's
Yeah.
card out of a hobby box,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I think for now that card should be the most valuable Juju
Mm,
in terms
yeah.
of, up against this year's USC. It'll be interesting to see what happens as her career, as she gets back on the court, and progresses, because it's not licensed. Not licensed. It doesn't have a logo on it.
Yeah.
You could make a case it could hold more value, right? Because it's not a college logoed card, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't think it looks as nice as the USC cards, but I agree. I mean, it does say first
Yeah.
Bowman, and
Yeah.
I hope it does, because I've got a bunch invested in
Yeah. And
it.
and and she had the McDonald's cards too,
She did.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep. Got a few of those as well.
yeah.
Autos. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, but the McDonald's cards definitely don't hold the value like the college cards.
No, no.
So
Those are the
that's really
flash
it.
in the pan. You
Correct.
get you gotta move them. I have a couple of McDonald's cards that I absolutely love, and I don't care about, like, I'm just gonna hold on to them.
Yeah.
Those combo cards,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
So, I have the, Sarah Strong and the Cooper flag,
Yeah.
numbered
Me
to
too. Yep.
25 PSA 10,
Yeah.
and it's, like, one of my favorite cards that I own, that I have
Yep.
sitting on my shelf here in the office. So, there's some of those McDonald's cards, and like the McFlurry, things like, I don't
Hmm.
know, I just think they're kind of cool. I know they
Yep.
don't hold much value. That's why they'll sit on the shelf and not go into a case, or into, like, you know, uh, uh, you know,
The
put
safe.
away to sell somewhere. Those
Right.
are more, they're going to sit on the shelf, that I'll just hold on to them just because I like those cards.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the McFlurry cards are super fun, and they're really hard to find a good copy of those. So
Yeah,
if you can get one to grade of 10,
yeah,
I mean, it's worth more than you're going to find a comp for, in my mind as well.
yeah,
Yeah, I had a
yeah,
Cooper Flag 10 this year, and we were able to move it, but it was so hard to get those in a 10. So
yeah,
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 yeah, I agree. There's just certain cards that when you love them, you love them. That's what's
yeah,
great about the
yeah.
hobby.
When it comes to those McDonald's cards, the hobby math doesn't work, right?
Yep.
You can't take this and say, well, look, the PSA 10 is $100, so this raw must be worth 10 or 20. It
Mhm.
doesn't work that way. Like, because they graded so poorly, if you get a
Yep.
PSA 10, it's like almost a 20 or a 25x,
Yeah.
compared to, yeah, for somebody, I guess too, not so much the value, but for somebody who would want that card, because the pop counts are going to be so low on them,
Yep.
to get those to gem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah, it's not as bad as the Caitlin Silvers, but yeah, pretty rough.
Like, you know what? And I'm telling you right now, I tell you right now, I'll send, or I've sent so many orders off to PSA, and any of them that had Caitlin Clark cards in them, they sat in QC check, whatever that is. They
Yep.
sat there for weeks and weeks, where the other ones would orders would just pop, and
Oh, yeah.
and I would know right then I'm not getting any tens. I mean,
Yep.
these things are coming back sevens and eights and
Yep.
maybe a nine, and I've just stopped. Like, there's
Yep.
no way I can't send any more Caitlin Clark cards out there. That I'm just going to buy the tens, because
Yeah.
I don't know who's getting the tens, but it's not me.
Yeah. No, we have one sitting right now. It's been QHX for 3 weeks that has a Caitlin to 75 in it.
Yep.
And I think that's probably why.
Yep.
It's just sitting, and say there's 44 other cards in that order.
Yep.
But I
Yep.
think
And
that
those
one
orders just sit there forever. And I almost
forever.
think that they come out like a 10, and somebody's like, no, 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 no.
Yep.
Get back there, crack that thing out of that, make it an 8 or a 9. We
Yep.
can't have any more tens.
Yep. That's what it feels like. We did get lucky and get a Groovy to 75 back in a 10 a few weeks ago,
Yep.
which was really special. But yeah, I mean, the gem rate's so low. We don't even bother. Same as you. We don't send them in anymore.
Yeah. Even the draft night cards,
Mhm.
right? So I bought all up the first 10 players, right?
Yep.
Wherever Van Lith was, she
Yep.
10 or 11,
I think it
wherever
was
she
11.
yeah, 11. So I bought up to 11,
Yeah.
and I sent them all into grading, and they'd come back like 25 of each card. They'd come back like 22 tens
Yep.
and 3 nines, and this and that and this and that. So the page, I bought more. So the page, I
Mhm.
bought 50 of the page, right?
Yep.
Sent them all off. Do you know that I got 25 tens and 25 nines of the
Oh,
page?
wow.
It
Yeah,
look, every card looked exactly the same, but I
yeah.
just think they said, no, we just cut this guy. They're all tens, but just cut his
Yeah.
order in half. Just,
Crazy. Yeah, they printed so many of that page. We got, I don't know, we probably had 20 or 25 tens, but we didn't have that. I think we sent ours right away. And I feel like we had pretty good success with the pages. I want to say we only had a few nines. But I think, yeah, the more that they cycle through, the more that comes down. That pop count's got to be pretty high on the tens, I would think,
yeah,
with those, because
yeah,
they just printed so many of those.
yeah.
But yeah, we went a little deep on Haley. These are all Haley Van Lith draft nights we didn't send for grading yet.
But I think we all expected her to be, right. We thought she was going to step right into a role, and
Yep.
she had such a following coming out of. Maybe it was because she wasn't smiling in her picture. Nobody wants.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think the Sky's got to work on their. I don't want to get anybody riled up here, but
Yeah,
the Sky has some talent. I think they should have been a much better team than they were.
yeah.
And so whatever, we'll see.
What are your thoughts on the draft night cards being all the Don Russ rated rookies?
I think it's terrible.
Same photo.
I think it's terrible. Yep. I'm looking at a stack of them right now, trying to see if there's any other than, so Maddie Westfield was a shot, and Pow Pow's a shot, but anybody else that was in the draft night just wasn't good. So yeah, got a stack of them. I think it's totally lazy. Yeah, I mean, if they produced all the instant cards for each one of those players, they could have given us some action shots. But
yeah,
that brings us to a topic we haven't talked about. What's the deal with why it takes so long for Panini to put a set out, right?
Yeah.
So I think those cards sat in a warehouse for who knows how long before they got released, and that's probably why, because they didn't have those pictures then. They probably produced all those cards before the season started.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. I mean, a lot of them, but even you see, look at a lot of the players that changed teams. Like Kate Martin still has an Aces jersey on in all the cards. So,
but it was interesting with the football, right? They would airbrush the professional jersey onto them shooting in an action shot, but nobody was taking the time out of their day to do that with these. Too much work.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's that niche thing, but I think that the great part about the W market is it's growing rapidly. And I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons why we see the appreciation we are on the prices is because there's just so little product and so many big fans. So I'm really happy to see more attention getting to women's basketball. It's great, it's fun, and it's,
Yep.
to me. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I don't mind. I like watching the NBA. I watch it quite a bit, but I definitely prefer college men's basketball. And to me, as a basketball kind of purist, I'd much rather watch women play than watch men at this point,
Yep.
because it's just the Steph Curry effect of everybody's just shooting threes and that's all that they do,
Mhm.
or dunking. It makes it not as fun to watch. And the girls are women are in there playing pure basketball, looking for each other, cutting, getting to the rim. It's fun. It's fun to watch.
What do you think of the Unrivaled?
Love it. Can't wait for it. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be fun. It's gonna
Yeah.
be super fun.
I almost think it's going to be more fun than the actual season of
Yeah.
the regular WNBA season,
I
and
mean, you look at
that may be
Paige's
all we'll
team,
have next year, right?
right? It might be. It might get a jolt real fast, right? Man, you look at it. So they just released on the 5th, a couple days ago. They released the rosters, and
Yeah,
man, looking at Paige's team with they're stacked. I mean, 5 out of the 6 players are like all
yeah,
stars, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, you
it's
got
going to be fun,
Cam,
and a lot of those other
Cam.
teams are good too. But can be really fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's you know what, all the teams are stacked. All the
Yep,
teams look good, right? So
yep,
it's going to be very competitive, and something to say, what like you're reducing the amount of players on the floor. There's nowhere to hide.
yep.
So you have to.
Which will work out for, I think, people like Aaliyah Edwards and folks that, like, girls that aren't having quite the opportunity maybe in the W
Yep,
to get as much floor time as they're maybe talented enough to earn.
yep,
That run ride would be great for that. And that'll be fun to
yeah.
watch too, because I think that we're going to see some talent show up that we haven't seen get the opportunity yet in the W. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not going to say it's going to create even more, people in the hobby, but it's going to create more purchasing of players when they start to watch that and say, "Wow!" Like a player like Cam Brink that we didn't get to see really play all year because she was out with the injury, and then say, "Wow!" Like she's a great player. Right. Or
Hmm.
it could be the opposite and say, wow, she stinks. Why did I even
Yeah.
buy her cards? But I think for the most, I think people are going to say, wow, like I want to go in on this player and that player, and I think it's going to be good for the card market, right?
Yep.
Not having this like, oh, this off season that we have to wait all the way till the spring, for
Right.
the to get started again. That it's going to keep people excited, and it's going to keep
Yeah.
the cards being sold more. The more talented people look and people want to invest into these players, right? It's just going to bring more money into the hobby.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's one of the things I love about the being in the women's collectible market is we don't have as much off season, right? Because you kind of run the W right into the college season, and then you're looking for the draft, right? And so this is a nice fill in, kind of brings us some professional play in the middle of that time in the college season where it's just kind of, it's fine, but it's kind of mid-season slump, and it gives us something fun and exciting to talk about right before March Madness, and then we get March
Yep.
Madness, then we get the draft, then we get the season, right? And so
Yep.
it makes it fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
Unlike football, where you just die, like, right. After the Super Bowl, there's like, all right, we don't even talk about it again until September,
Yep.
or in
Yep.
the hobby, we talk about it again in July and August. But you just have many months with no conversation of NFL. We get the benefit of the staggered seasons properly, I think, for
Yeah.
the women's market.
Well, what's going to happen too. I mean, I just got my notice that the Don Russ WNBA stuff's not even going to ship now to the end of December, right? And
Hmm.
then we're going to have Prism is going to be coming, but I'm sure they're going to push that off, to make sure they sell all the Don Russ stuff before they drop the Prism stuff. So I think really the Prism stuff is going to be dropping during the
Hmm.
Unrivaled season, right? And
Yeah,
maybe even into the WNBA draft or the beginning of next season. It may
yeah,
even be like it's definitely next year sometime. I would have to think. I think last year it came in January. I think this
that's
year
it.
is
Yeah,
probably going to come in February or March. I think it's going
yeah.
to be pushed off even later.
I agree. They have a date on the 12th of December, but there's just no way with pushing back they haven't released any of the retail product yet.
Yeah.
Um, I agree. I mean, Panini's not gonna shoot their own market, right? In such a,
Yeah.
a niche market. So yeah, I mean, hopefully from a hobby perspective, that gives us, some fun to be had. I hope it's not
Yeah.
too late into January, February when they release
Yeah.
that product because
And it's so discouraging to spend the money, put the money out there, and then just
oh
it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed, and you think to yourself, like next year, I'm really going to rethink, pre-buying on the stuff and just wait till it comes out because I just think
yeah,
it's such a waste of money, like paying for it and having your money sit somewhere and it's taking months before your
yeah,
product ships. Yeah,
yeah, huge amounts of money for Prism, right? I mean, you're talking, $8,000 to $10,000 a case,
yeah,
for 12 boxes minimum, sitting that having that money sit for months and months and months and months
yeah,
and months, right? And then yeah, it's I agree with you. I think, and what we've learned from Donruss this year too is you have it's like this in every release. You have a big spike at the beginning, and then as things level out, then you can get in. And
yeah,
so I honestly think if I would have just waited on Donruss until right now to buy it, I don't think we would have been any worse off. I think we would have been, because we had to pay higher, even though it sold higher.
yep,
We had to pay higher a few weeks ago, right?
yep.
To get it, or in advance when we pre-bought stuff. So yeah, I think that makes sense. We've already pre-ordered a bunch of Prism, um, but it doesn't feel like there's going to be a shortage of being able to get it. Maybe like last year,
Yeah.
because Panini's just going to print more.
So.
So
Well, man, this has been great. I appreciate you coming on and chatting the W and,
yeah.
talking about, your collect for the good and everything you're doing in the hobby. Tell everybody if they want to reach out to you, where they can find you, what's the best way to reach you, and if they're interested in buying some singles on Whatnot, where they can find you there as well.
Sure, yeah, I mean, it's just at Collect for Good on any social, but our Whatnot channels are most active, but Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all those things, at Collect for Good, collect the number 4 good, um, and all of the socials, and yeah, would love to talk shop anytime.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
yeah.
fun.
Appreciate all you do
Well, thank you, Ken. It's
for
really
sure.
really been a pleasure to be on with you for sure.
And maybe we'll do that content on the Whatnot stream. We'll try to figure that out some night.
We will definitely. That'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that will be that. It's got to be the next iteration, right? Where you
Yeah,
kind of sell and create a podcast at the same
yeah,
time. It
yeah,
seems like it makes sense.
yeah. Can I buy at the same time, or is that going
I
to be?
don't know
Is
about
it going to be one of
that.
those?
There's a conflict of interest.
You work for the lottery. You can't play.
Right, right.
All right, man.
Yeah,
Again, I appreciate you having you on. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Ken.